Blue skies, smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see.
Do I hear bluebirds singing?
Bluebirds
Singing a song,
nothing but bluebirds all day long.
all day long I hear bluebirds.
Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by, when you're in love, my how they fly. Blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies. From now on.
Nice. Well, that was amazing.
Up your dog leg.
Maine State Music Theater, Maine State Music Theater, bringing Broadway to Brunswick.
So you can tell that there is no lack of talent up there. I have the pleasure of going around the country and auditioning college-age kids all over the country to find these people right here. I saw approximately 2,000 people in an attempt to end up right there. And you can see why. It's the cream of each of their programs, and we're thrilled to bring them here. Every year, each of these kids, now, how many of you are seniors? We'll find this out in a second, but no seniors?
I'm about to be.
Going into their senior year. So usually we have a couple seniors that are going to launch right into their life, but I never look at that in deciding who to choose. I always let the talent tell us who to choose and the skill set. So I have a phrase that I can't say here because it includes swear words, but they have to be able to sing very well and dance very well. Let's put it that way in order to get into this program, and they obviously all can. You haven't seen them dance yet, but you will later this summer. One of the things that they do during the summer is we call it the Intern Show, and this year it's Fame. The last 2 years it's been Hair and Godspell. That evening always sells out. I beg you to come see them. I always say it is the most electric evening in the theater. At Maine State. And I mean no disrespect to our Maine State shows, but the bottom line is the hearts that are inside those bodies right there. You cannot beat the energy and the drive and the effort that they put forth for that show. And it shows that evening. And both of the last 2 years, we've had people leaning off the balcony screaming, just because the energy is so great. Some of you I know that, but we want all of you to come see that if you can. You guys ready to do your Fame number?
Sure.
All right, here's a little number from Fame.
I'm alive, and I will survive. Show the world that I can take it. When I hit the heights, put my name in lights. Show the world that I can make it by doing hard work.
Awesome. Obviously a long dance section that goes with that. But Stacy, do you think now's a good time to introduce each one of them?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So last year, one of the best feedback we got was obviously the interns are amazing singers, performers, and we're thrilled to have them here. But it's also interesting to get a feel from who they are, how old they are, where they're from, that sort of thing. So why don't we start? Either end is fine. Give us a little background. So what's your name?
Sure. Hi, I'm Stephanie Sable. I'll say it since I'm talking. I'm from New York City. I grew up in New York City, and then I moved to the suburbs. I have a little brother, and he was a little bit rambunctious, so moved out of the apartment, got a house. And I'm 22. I graduated from Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania last year. Oh, sweet. Yeah, great school, loved it. And so I've been spending the past year auditioning in New York and being a nanny, wonderful, and studying to be a health coach, so I'm almost done with that degree. And I started doing theater when I was in camp in, I think, 4th grade, and they were doing Cinderella, and I got to play the evil stepmother. So the audience got a great laugh from that. So I've been doing it since then, and I love it, and hope to make a great career out of it. So.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bond. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I'm 21 years old, and I go to school in the panhandle of Florida, like 45 minutes from Alabama, so really far west at the University of West Florida. And I'm getting a degree in musical theater and a degree in arts administration. So I'm really excited about that. I have 1 year left, and after I leave here, I'm flying home for like 12 hours. I'm repacking my bags, and I'm studying in London all next semester. And then I have 1 more semester at my home university, and I graduate. So yeah, I really love being outside, so Maine is awesome. I love cooking, I love yoga, and I got into theater when I was in high school. I did dance. I was a dancer, my mom was a dancer, and we're right next to Disney World, so everyone's kind of a dancer if you live in Orlando. So I was doing dance in high school, and there was this guy that I thought was really cute, and he did the lights for the theater, so somehow I ended up auditioning for the theater, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then it didn't work out with the guy, but it really worked out with theater. I was like, wow, this is awesome, and I have never looked back since, and I'm just so excited to be here.
2 things, Sarah. How do you tell people to remember your name?
Bond. Sarah Bond.
And then secondly, she said she's going to be studying in London, so I don't know how many of you know it, but Maine State Music Theater takes a trip every year to London. We'd like to invite you all to please join us if you would like to. And Sarah's going to pay us a little visit when we're over
Yes,
there.
I'll be there, so come see me. I'll be poor.
Sarah?
Hi, I'm Spencer. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, but I grew up in Florida, that's why I don't have a southern accent. I go to school at the Boston Conservatory. I will be a junior musical theater major in the fall. I'm 20. What is interesting about me? You had such
What's
a
your real name?
Oh, my real name is James Dean, but I go by my middle name.
Why?
Oh, how did I get into theater? I started theater when I was 7. My mom signed me up for an acting class, and because I always wore my Dorothy dress and watched The Wizard of Oz when I was 5, and I loved watching The Sound of Music. So she signed me up for theater, and I did 3 years of this spring camp that you write your own show. It was very bad. I played a 3-headed prince named Prince Funky, and I did my first musical when I was 10, and then ever since then, I've just been more musical theater than favorite memory? When I was in Peter Pan, I got to clean up the fairy dust during intermission. I don't know.
James Spencer Dean.
Hi, I'm Reagan Ogle. I just turned 18. I am about to be a sophomore at Elon University in North Carolina, but I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, so kind of far. I used to hate theater, actually. I didn't want to do it. I was a competitive dancer for a really long time, and my parents were like, you can't dance for a living, and I was like, yes I can, and they were like, why don't you do theater? And I was like, no. But then I quickly changed my mind whenever I saw a show and absolutely fell in love with it, and then decided to do one, and then really fell in love with it and realized that I could still dance, but also do it in a way that was more creative and fun with people who were a little bit nicer. And I really fell in love with theater, and I've had a great time with it ever since. I guess my favorite movie was I was cast in I was cast in Narnia the musical, which is a real thing. Yep, I was a unicorn and I wore a white unitard, and it was really fun.
Thank you, Reagan.
I am I'm Benjamin Henley. I am 26 years old, so I'm kind of the odd one out of this group. But I went to Western Carolina for a couple of years. School wasn't for me. I was unmotivated, and so I wanted more theater experience outside of what the university was offering me. So I found a voice teacher I loved and just started studying and doing as much as I could. I actually did my first show when I was in 9th grade just because I loved the movie, which was Little Shop of Horrors. And I was like, I'll just go and, it'll be fun. And then I ended up being Seymour. So I was like, okay, so this is what this is like. So I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't dance. And I actually got my first paid job at an amusement park. And when they hired me, they were like, can you dance? I was like, no, I'm a singer that moves. I'll give you some step touch, and that's about it. But I actually got fired from that job because I couldn't dance. So I was like, well, here's a new layer. I need to go take some dance lessons. So I joined a studio, ended up loving that just as much as I did singing and doing theater. So this is my first big job, and I'm so happy to be here.
Ben, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan Lipes. I grew up in the very small town of Geneseo, Illinois, which is right by the Quad Cities, if anyone knows where that is. And I just graduated from Illinois Wesleyan University in Bloomington, Illinois, with my BFA in musical theater. So this is my first professional gig here at Maine State outside of school, so it's a new experience, but I'm beyond excited. My first experience with theater was when I was in the 3rd grade. I went on a school field trip to see the best Christmas pageant ever, the play. And when I turned 14, that actually was the first play I was ever in. So I leaned over in the audience to my mom and I was like, I'm gonna be in that show. I wanna be in theater, I wanna do that. Because it was so inspiring to see all the kids up there on stage my age doing what seemed impossible. And it ended up being my first show ever. So from then on, every summer, spring, winter, I was in a show up until now. So yeah, I got to be in the first play that I ever saw.
Awesome. Jordan.
Hi everybody, I'm Leah Nickel. I am 21 years old. I am from Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes northeast of Atlanta. I go to school at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and I am a double major in dance and musical theater.
Are you allowed to say University of Alabama without saying Roll Tide?
I can try. I can try for you. I actually am really new to theater compared to everybody else. I actually started as a dancer when I was 9 and stayed with that up until I still dance. Obviously, I'm a dance major. But I actually didn't really, I always wanted to do theater and I always loved musical theater. I just didn't get to do it because I decided that I wanted to kind of cultivate my dance talent first because my mom was a voice teacher, so I had that at home. And my parents were involved in theater, and so they helped me with a lot of acting things when I needed it. But so I cultivated the dance part of me up until I graduated high school. I'm going to be a junior, so I've been in college 2 years, and I didn't start doing theater until I got to college. So probably my favorite musical was when we did Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, which is a rock show. Such a fun show. Absolutely loved it. I was in the ensemble. I was the youngest one in the cast. And everybody was like, who is this chick? We don't even know who she is. They were all like seniors and stuff. But it was so much fun because all we did was like throw our hair around. It was great. Fun fact about me, I started out as a dancer and I want to teach one day. Teaching is actually my heart. I've been teaching since I was 8 years old in martial arts. I actually started in martial arts before I was a dancer. I'm a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Frank, don't mess with her.
But I've been teaching since then, and I went from martial arts to dance to choreographing dance, and that's probably where I'm going to end up. And I love performing, and this is a great season of my life, but I will end up teaching one day, and I'm so excited for it.
Thank you, Leah.
Hello Hello, everybody. I'm D'Angelo Renard, and I come from New Orleans, Louisiana. Woo! I'm 22 years old, and I'm going into my senior year at Northwestern State University. How many of y'all know Steel Magnolias? Yeah? Okay, it was filmed in Natchitoches, Louisiana, which is where my school is located. I didn't start theater until my junior year in high school. I actually played baseball and soccer, and I needed to take a piano class that I wasn't doing too well in. And my teacher was like, okay, well, I'll pass you if you do this play that we're putting on, which is Into the Woods. And I was like, God, okay. So I did it, and I fell in love with it. I've had a very musical background. I started playing the violin at a very early age, the piano, I was in a lot of choir stuff, but I never got to be on stage doing theater and dancing and stuff. I always thought that was weird. So when I got the chance to do it, I really fell in love with it. Honestly, one of my most favorite memories is actually pretty recent. It was auditioning for Maine State Music Theater. It was very intimidating and very challenging, and I didn't think that I could do it, and I didn't think that they wanted me, and I was like, okay. But then I got the phone call, and I was so excited to come and work here with a theater with a caliber like this. And I'm really excited to perform for everybody and to perform for all of you guys. And
Tell these fine folks who got you here.
my grandmother. God bless her. Yes, my grandmother. She's my manager. I do think she is. She does everything for me.
You gotta love smart old women.
I know. I love her. She actually was kind of against me moving so far away from home. But I was like, Grandma, I have to go. And she was like, no. And I was like, yes, I have to. But she's really excited, and hopefully she'll get to come up all the way to Maine. And I'm really excited to perform for you guys, and hopefully perform for her.
Thank you, D'Angelo. So one of the beauties of Maine State Music Theater and these guys coming up here is they start their lives with a lot of credits, because when they come up here to work for us, they instantly get 3 Main Stage credits, Fame as a credit, and Shrek as a credit. And all of those have Maine State Music Theater at the end of them on their resume. Maine State Music Theater is known throughout the country as a professional summer stock theater. So it's a valued credit for their resumes that will help. You know, when I know that when I look at a resume, I look to see where they've worked. And there are certain places that you're looking, hoping to see, and we are one of those places, and now they all get those credits. The other thing that happens when I audition for these guys is all of these people are insanely talented and could all be playing leads at many, many theaters. Where we are, we hire Broadway actors, Broadway designers, Broadway everything basically come up here because they love the state of Maine. They love to be up here in the summer, and they cannot wait to get here. Some of our people come back year after year after year. It's my hope, and what I say to them is, what I would like you to do is come watch those people, learn all kinds of good habits, because our profession is all about habits. If you start early in your career showing up on time, knowing your lines, knowing your dances, coming in the next day knowing everything that you'd been taught the day before, you will have an easy time in life. And so I tell them that I think the best option for them is to come up here and mimic those other people. Plus, they're going to get a lot of work. They're going to get a lot of work to do from us for here too. But anyway, so luckily these fine folks say yes. So that's all good for us.
I think they feel that way about you, actually.
So quickly, let me tell you about what we have coming this summer for those of you who might not know. Right now, we have the full Monty, and I'm telling you, the audiences are absolutely going crazy. The second act of this show is so funny. I mean, literally, every night I stand there and people say to me, "Oh my God, I laughed so hard, my sides hurt. I fell out of my chair." And all of the isms about laughing that they could possibly say. But it really is a blast, and don't miss it if you can. Next up, we have Sister Act, which I will tell you right now is coming close to selling out on many, many, many performances. So spread the word if you want to see that show. What happens to me every year, my first year was very disconcerting to me because I've been here as an actor many years, but when I first got this job, 2 of the shows we had that year were Mary Poppins and Les Mis. And every day I would dread coming to my office because I would have 15 nasty phone calls because people were mad because they couldn't get tickets. And I would always say, I said to Barbara, what do I say? I mean, what do they want me to do? Ask someone who paid for a ticket not to come? You know? So get those tickets early, please, if you can. Yes, ma'am.
Before you move on,
Yep.
could you take a second to actually tell what each show is about?
Oh, sure.
So they may not know the full
Sure,
Monty
sure, sure.
story.
Full Monty is about a group of guys who work for a steel mill, and the mill is closed. And they let all the workers go. So they're out of work, and they don't know what to do. They witness their wives going to a Chippendales performance and spending $50 to go see it. So they get the bright idea that these factory workers are going to bond together, learn a few routines, and put on their own strip night. Well, of course, the women are like, well, we saw one 3 weeks ago that was professional. Why would we come to yours? So they're stuck, and they don't know what to do. So they say, well, because we're going to go the full Monty. And then after they say it, they're like, we just said we were going to get naked. So now they're stuck. So in the final scene, it's the most anticipated closing number in the history of Broadway. And I did have a woman the other night. I opened the door and I said, welcome, thank you for coming tonight. She goes, I'm here for that final number. I also had a phone call a couple weeks ago where a woman asked, can I bring binoculars? And I said the gentleman would hope that you don't need to. But anyway, it really is a beautiful story. Throughout the course of the evening, the main character who is out of work, you see him wrestle with trying to reconnect with his divorced spouse and take care of his son. And it's a very, very touching, poignant play. Sister Act is about the lead character, Dolores Van Cartier, and she witnesses her mafioso, mobster boyfriend kill someone, and realizes very quickly that even though he is her boyfriend, now that she's seen him kill someone, he's going to forget about the fact that she's his girlfriend and he's going to kill her. So she runs. They hide her out in a convent, and at the convent, she reconnects with who she really is, and the nuns in the convent help her find who she really is. And in the process, she helps them loosen up and live a little at the same time. And it's also a very beautiful story. We call 2015 the season of smiles for a reason, because all the shows are fun, happy, and have a life lesson in them. The third show of the season is Music Man. I don't think I need to tell you what Music Man is. You all know what Music Man is. But why should you come see it again if you've already seen it? First of all, come see it because I'm playing Harold Hill and I want you to. Second of all, come see it because Maine State Music Theater, I firmly believe every play we ever do, we put our own spin on it. And Music Man will be no different. So please join us for Music Man. And then lastly, Young Frankenstein. This is weird for me because I've had Barbara and I have had a lot of people say, oh, I don't like scary. This is not scary at all. This is not the story of Frankenstein. This is Mel Brooks' version of Frankenstein. So it's very funny. You take the movie Frankenstein, which is kind of like The Producers. It's a happy, funny movie. And then they add the glitz and glamour of the stage, and they add a couple tap steps, and it makes it really fun. So please don't miss that one either. And that is our final show where you'll find out what next season is as well. And trust me, I'll give you a little hint. You want to find out what next season is because we've got some good stuff coming. So don't miss that.
And where do you guys live?
In Topsom.
All in the same place?
Yes.
Yes, we have
together.
a great, because we are the performance interns, but it takes more than performers to make theater, so all of the other disciplines have interns as well. So there's carpentry interns and electrics interns to make the lights happen, stage management, all that stuff. So all of the interns get to live together in the same housing facility, which is great because we learn from each other all day long when we're in rehearsal, but then when we go home at night, we can say, oh, what did you do today? Well, I built this, and we did it like this, and we tried this, it didn't work, we had to go back, try again. So that's really cool. So all 23 of the interns live together right next to Mount Arrett, is that how you say it? Right next to Mount Arrett High School, and it's great, we have a little backyard, we share.
Is it across from the tennis courts?
The middle
Yeah.
school.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's the former base houses
Yes.
back there?
It's
Okay.
the
It
education.
also causes forced cooperation.
Right?
They have to figure out a way to live together, and it's an important skill for
It
actors.
is.
If you cannot figure out a way to get along, you're going to have a very short career.
Yeah, so do you have private bedrooms?
No,
No.
4 to a room.
Really?
I'm on top
Double
of
bunk beds.
Double bunk beds.
Double bunk beds. Maine State Music Theater on one day, I can't remember what day it was 2 weeks ago, we go from 7 employees and we have an influx. The week before, 6 or 7 or 10 people come in sporadically. Then in one day, 86 people arrived on the same day.
Sunday.
And those 86 people are all housed by Maine State Music Theater. It is the biggest budget item that we have yearly. And it is, I don't know, you might have seen in the paper a few weeks ago, we got the good fortune to have a donor help us purchase a house on Cedar Street, which is our second housing unit now that we own. We renovated it and it was ready for use this year for this season, so we'll have 4 equity actors in that housing unit all during this season. And we're looking at purchasing another currently through another donor. So over the course of the next 10 years, we hope to alleviate some of the pressure of trying to find housing for all of those people, because in Maine in the summer, it's incredibly expensive, you know, so.
Interesting.
And the less we're reliant on that, the more we can pick and choose maybe people who help us and maybe give us a break on the rent or whatever else. But not everybody can afford to do that because taxes are expensive too, so.
Do you have a program where someone could will their house to you?
We do,
Oh, that's interesting.
we do indeed.
Think about, that'd be
We
an
do
enormous
indeed.
write-off.
Yep. Well, and that's usually what happens, is it usually is a write-off situation where somebody has, you know, an estate planning or whatever that if they, you know, they have to either get rid of it or the state's gonna take most of it anyway. So that's usually how we end up with something. But we're thrilled to get it when it happens because it really makes our life, every bed makes our life a little bit easier. But, you know, and where you take one step forward, sometimes you take 2 steps back, because we got that house, which was a beautiful thing, and then like 2 weeks later lost 2 of our rental units because the people that were renting to us, one of the people passed away, and so their family didn't want to do it, and then the other couple moved into the house that we used to rent from them and got rid of their house in Harpswell. So we can't house people in Harpswell, it's too far away, so.
Yeah.
Speaking of far away, did I read that you provide them with bicycles?
The equity actors that are within the distance of the Pickard and the rehearsal space are given bicycles.
How about you guys? How do you get back and forth?
They all have cars, and we give them,
They have cars?
yeah, and we give them gas cards. But the reality is we have a van that makes about, I think it makes 12 trips a day between Topsom and 22 Elm to get the kids back and forth.
So
It's
if
on a
they
regular
didn't have
schedule.
a car, they could still
Yeah.
take the gig?
Yeah.
Gotcha, nice, good.
Yeah. You want to hear them sing something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? Old black one.
Ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 bum.
That old black magic has repeated itself. That old black magic that you weave so well. Those icy fingers up and down my spine. The same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine. The same old tingle that I feel inside. And then that elevator starts its ride. And down I go, round and round I go. In the spin, loving the spin I'm in. Under that old black magic pump,
long gossamer wings. Just one of those things. If we thought a bit of the end of it when we started painting the town, we'd have been aware that our love affair was too hot not to cool down. So goodbye, dear and amen. Here's hoping we meet now and then.
It was great fun, but it was just one of those things.
One of those things.
We're gonna end in just a second with Fascinating Rhythm, but before that, does anybody have any questions? Yes?
So my daughter was just in her first musical, Shrek, with Midcoast Youth
Yeah.
Theater, which was the best experience ever. She can't wait to see Shrek with you guys. She's 7, so what do you say? What should she be working on? She should be taking dance lessons or singing or what?
Both.
All of the above.
Okay.
Just be happy in whatever she's doing.
That's true too. That's true too.
Just a little.
Let her, I would say, let her lead it.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You're all just together for the first time very recently?
Yes.
How did you pull all this off?
You want to know a
Nowadays.
typical day for these guys? A typical day for these guys will be a work call, fame rehearsal, another work call, fame rehearsal, and in starting Saturday, it will be a work call, sister act rehearsal, singing for the local restaurants. They do these numbers to all of our sponsor restaurants. We go to 3 a night and do 1 number at each restaurant. And like today, the way you'll see how I end it. I'll end it saying, Maine State Music Theater thanks People Plus for their partnership. And we do that in the restaurants. Then they go back and they rehearse Fame again. So their day is an incredibly long day, one right after another, and they keep these smiles on. It's pretty special.
You should see us when we leave the house. We've got like backpacks, clothes, lunch, dinner, breakfast,
And
tea on
every
our
day is
bed.
more. More bags every day, and I don't know why.
And the room that they live in is about this big, with 4 bunk beds. So I don't know where they put their stuff. I have no idea.
But you know, it's the same thing that she said. Like everybody being so nice in Maine, it's the same for all the interns. Like everyone has been extremely warm and grateful to be here, and it's great to be among those people because it just enhances all of our experiences.
I'm lucky because we've been here for 57 years. So the population knows that Maine State Music Theater doesn't exist without the work of these 24 people, these 8 and the rest of the interns. We just can't survive. We wouldn't be able to survive. If I had to pay normal wages, we don't have enough weeks. We only have 12 weeks in that building to make our entire budget. So it's a very scary proposition, but thank God we've been blessed and we've been able to do it. So that's a beautiful thing. Yes, ma'am.
So how many, you're all in Shrek.
Yes.
How many of you are any of you in Full Monty?
Sarah?
I'm yeah, surprise! I showed up on my first day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in Maine," and they gave me the keys to my house, and they gave me a script for Full Monty, and they said, "Be off book, because you're going to be in the show." So one of the actors that I'm sure you all know if you've been here for a while, Karis. So Karis' son is graduating. So she's going to go see his graduation, and then one of the other women from the show will step into her role. So I'm stepping into the ensemble role that will be opened next weekend on the 12th, 13th, and 14th. So I'm really excited.
The day she got here, Kathy Kaczynski, our company manager, comes to me and she says, "Does Sarah not know she's in this?" I said, "No, I didn't tell her."
Who's in Sister Act?
They're all in Sister Act,
Okay.
all in Young Frankenstein, and all in Music
All
Man.
in That's tremendous. That's really fantastic. Good.
Oh, and I would just like to add that she'll be in Full Monty on the 12th, 13th, and 14th, and then we do Fame on the 15th. So she's
And rehearsing Sister Act.
Gentle on the boat chick.
Yeah.
So, lastly, Fascinating Rhythm.
Got a little rhythm that pitter-pats through my brain. So darn persistent, the day isn't distant when it'll drive me insane. Comes in the morning without any warning and hangs around all day. I'll have to sneak up to it someday and speak up to it. I hope it listens when I say, fascinating rhythm, you got me on the go. Fascinating rhythm, I'm all a quiver. What a mess you're making, the neighbors want to know why I'm always shaking, just like a flivver. Each morning I get up with a sigh,
Start a hopping, never stopping,
to find that tonight no work has been done. I know that once it didn't matter, but now you're doing wrong. When you start to patter, I'm so unhappy. Won't you take the day off, decide to run along somewhere far away off and make it snappy? Oh, how I long to be the man I used to be. Fascinating rhythm, oh, won't you stop it?